Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown and AEW Rampage review. Smackdown tonight was from the XL Center in Hartford, Connecticut, while Rampage was live from the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. And Smackdown tonight, I thought it was a good show in my opinion. Lately, WWE has been making and booking Smackdown good, while I don't know what's been going on with Monday Night Raw every week. I mean, Monday Night Raw hasn't had a decent, good show in, like a month? So I feel like WWE is putting all their effort into making SmackDown a good show every week than Monday Night Raw. That's how the way I look at it. But tonight on SmackDown, we had two matches in the World Cup tournament. And the World Cup tournament started last week, which I didn't watch SmackDown last week. But Santos Escobar and Braun Strowman won their matches in the World Cup tournament last week. And so this week, we had Ricochet versus Mustafa Ali. And we had Karrion Kross versus Madcap Moss, Shotzi versus Shayna Baszler. We had a six-man tag with the New Day and Braun Strowman, and they ended up taking on Imperium. This is Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser and Gunther. And the main event, it was the other match in the first round of the World Cup tournament. It was Butch versus Sami Zayn. Overall, SmackDown, like I said, was a good show tonight. But anyways, before I start the review, if you guys haven't checked out my previous video that I uploaded earlier, did a review of A Christmas Story Christmas. So if you haven't seen my review of that, go check it out. Loved the film. In my opinion, it is the true sequel to A Christmas Story. Just really loved the film from beginning to end. Just check it out. It's worth watching. So check out my review of A Christmas Story Christmas if you guys haven't seen it yet. But anyways, let's get on with the review while I open up my Canada Dry Gingerberry Ale. So, there you go. So, SmackDown opened up tonight with the Brawling Brutes, Ridge Holland, Butch, and Sheamus. So, they end up making their way down to the ring, and they were on the ramp. Drew McIntyre then ended up coming out. So, Drew McIntyre and the Brawling Brutes got into the ring. Sheamus ended up saying that McIntyre is standing by his side. And they end up saying that, they're going to go to war with the bloodline. So Sheamus ended up telling McIntyre that the 20-year rivalry has created mutual respect because they have had a 20-year rivalry and they've gone to war numerous times. Sheamus ended up saying that it has created a bond, and he asked McIntyre to be his best man when he got married here in New York 3 weeks ago. So congrats to Sheamus on his marriage. So, good on him. So the fans then end up chanting Usi. And Sheamus ended up telling them that they may have an Usi, but they want the Broody. So McIntyre ended up asking Sheamus if he said Broody, to which McIntyre ended up saying that he is feeling a little broody himself. Sheamus then ended up telling McIntyre that there is no one else he would rather be in the trenches with than him. So Sheamus ended up asking McIntyre if he will be their honorary brute. McIntyre then ended up saying that no one knows what it's like to be outnumbered by the bloodline than him. He ended up saying, just when you think you have the upper hand, the Muppets multiply like rabbits. But when the odds are even, it's a different story altogether. You know what I'm saying? That if he wants to go to war, he wants to go to war with his brother. McIntyre then extended his hand to Sheamus. Both Sheamus and McIntyre shook hands, and they ended up hugging each other. Ridge Holland then ended up saying that it's fight night. And then Butch ended up saying that it's Survivor Series. It's War Games. So McIntyre ended up saying that he sees 4. But who could be the 5th man? And then out came Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn got on the mic. He ended up calling them his dogs. So the fans ended up chanting Usi at Sami Zayn. Zayn ended up saying that he thinks he speaks on behalf of the entire bloodline. He ended up saying that they don't care who the 5th guy is. He ended up saying that they feel great and that they are feeling Usi. Sami Zayn then ended up saying that they are talking with him, the master strategist, the honorary Usi. So Sami Zayn ended up saying that he is putting his name on a guarantee. He ended up saying that as the honorary he personally guarantees that the bloodline will win War Games. So Sami Zayn ended up telling Butch that they got a one-on-one match tonight as part of the Smackdown World Cup tournament. Sami Zayn ended up telling Butch that he is going to run through him and give them all a small taste of what they can expect at Survivor Series. So Sheamus then ended up saying that he is delighted, that he is confident. He ended up saying, but something tells him when he finds out who his 5th man is, Sami Zayn will crap his pants. So Sheamus ended up saying that it's the last thing he is going to expect. So Sami Zayn then ended up walking to the back, and that was basically that. But overall, this was a good opening to SmackDown. You know, we have the Brawling Brutes and Drew McIntyre going into War Games with the Bloodline. So, who will be that 5th member? That 5th member was revealed at the end of SmackDown, which I will get into. But good opening to SmackDown. And then we had the first match of the night, which was Mustafa Ali versus Ricochet. This was the first round match in the SmackDown World Cup tournament. Very good match this was. Very entertaining. We had Ricochet end up coming out first, and then Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali came out, and it was shown that his ribs were all taped up. So the match started off with Ricochet and Mustafa Ali. They were exchanging cover reversals. And we had Ricochet deliver an elbow to Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali came back and delivered a right hand onto Ricochet's neck. Mustafa Ali delivered a clothesline to Ricochet. He ended up going for the cover. Ricochet ended up kicking out. Mustafa Ali ended up delivering a chop to Ricochet's chest. Mustafa Ali ran towards Ricochet. Ricochet ended up throwing Mustafa Ali into the ring apron. Ricochet then delivered a right hand to Mustafa Ali, and he climbed to the second rope, but Mustafa Ali delivered a right hand to Ricochet. Mustafa Ali went up to the top rope, and Mustafa Ali delivered a backstabber to Ricochet off the top rope, which looked awesome. Good spot there in the match. And then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, Ricochet was in control of the match. He delivered an uppercut to Mustafa Ali in the middle of the ring. Ricochet ended up running to the ropes, and Mustafa Ali delivered a Hurricanrana to Ricochet. And we had Mustafa Ali end up jumping over the top rope. And he went on to Ricochet. Ricochet ended up catching Mustafa Ali, ended up hitting Mustafa Ali with the Michinoku driver on the outside, which was crazy. Ricochet then ended up throwing Mustafa Ali back into the ring. Ricochet went up to the top rope. He ended up going for a corkscrew, but Mustafa Ali moved out of the way. So Mustafa Ali delivered a scissor lock on Ricochet, but Ricochet ended up making to the ropes to break it up. Mustafa Ali was on the second rope. Ricochet ended up grabbing Mustafa Ali with a waistlock. And then Mustafa Ali was delivering some elbows. Ricochet then delivered a full Nelson suplex to Mustafa Ali, which he followed up with a clothesline. Ricochet then delivered his moonsault to Mustafa Ali off the second rope. Ricochet with his moonsaults, they're just absolutely great. So we had Ricochet end up going for the cover. Mustafa Ali kicked out. And then later on we saw Mustafa Ali. He ended up going up to the top rope. He went for the 450, but Ricochet moved out of the way. Ricochet then climbed to the top rope, delivered a shooting star press on Mustafa Ali, and Ricochet ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Ricochet ended up winning the match, so he's moving on in the tournament. But post-match, we had Ricochet helping Mustafa Ali to the back. Both of them walked to the back, and that was that. But overall, very good match this was. Both Ricochet and Mustafa Ali delivered here, and the match could have went either way. Ricochet could have lost, Mustafa Ali could have lost, but Ricochet won the match. So back to catering Mustafa Ali goes. And then we saw the Bloodline. The Bloodline and Sami Zayn were backstage. Jey Uso was angry. He was telling Sami Zayn that he is out there talking for the Bloodline. So Sami Zayn ended up asking Jey what the problem is, saying that they are going to win. Jimmy then ended up telling Jey and Sami Zayn that they need to be on the same page before Roman gets here. So Jimmy Uso ended up telling Sami Zayn to chill. And he ended up telling Jey that they need to figure out who the fifth member is with the Brutes, the Brawling Brutes, and Drew McIntyre. So that was basically that. And then we saw Kayla Braxton. Kayla Braxton was backstage with the New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. Xavier Woods ended up telling Kayla Braxton that him and Kofi are not in the best mood right now. And then came Imperium, Giovanni Vinci, Ludwig Kaiser, and Gunther, the Intercontinental Champion. So Imperium ended up telling the New Day that they hold the record for being the biggest clowns in WWE. Ludwig Kaiser ended up saying that for the past 8 years, they have made a mockery of the sport. He ended up saying that, and now it is up to them to restore the honor of that mat that is so sacred to them. So then Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston made fun of Imperium, to which Kofi ended up saying that Gunther looks like Lurch from the Addams Family. So Xavier Woods ended up saying that they will find a tag team partner, and they will see them in the ring. So Gunther ended up thanking them for making their point. So Kofi ended up asking if they have the Addams Family, where they are from. And then Imperium ended up walking away, and pretty much that was basically that. So obviously the New Day went out and found a tag team partner, which, I'll get to that. And then we saw Madcap Moss. Madcap Moss was training, and in came Emma. Emma ended up giving Madcap Moss a bottle of water. She ended up asking Madcap Moss how his voice is, to which Moss ended up saying that it has been 3 weeks since the Kross jacket, and that he can't talk. So Emma ended up telling Moss that it's a fresh start, and she knows how good he is. And to use his speed, it's a weapon. So pretty much that was that. So they're doing this whole love thing with Madcap Moss and Emma. I don't fucking care. I really don't. And then we had Karrion Kross versus Madcap Moss. which this was a decent match here. So we had Madcap Moss end up coming out first, and then Karrion Kross along with Scarlett. And the match started off with Madcap Moss. He delivered a knee to Kross's face, and he followed up with some right hands. Kross came back, delivered a right hand to Moss, but Moss ended up delivering a suplex to Karrion Kross. Moss ended up throwing Kross into the ropes, and Moss delivered an elbow to Karrion's face. Moss delivered a clothesline, and Kross went to the outside. So Moss ended up going to the outside. He ended up throwing Kross into the barricade, and then he threw Kross into the ring. Moss got into the ring, but Kross came back and delivered a full Nelson suplex to Moss. Kross started stomping away on Moss in the corner. The referee was distracted, and Scarlett ended up delivering a slap to Madcap's face. Kross then delivered a knee to Moss's midsection. Kross ran the ropes, but Moss delivered a clothesline to Karrion Kross. And Madcap Moss delivered a shoulder tackle onto Kross. Moss delivered a spear to Kross in the corner, and he delivered a fallaway slam, and Kross went to the outside. Moss then went back to the outside. He ended up running to Karrion Kross, but Scarlett ended up getting in Moss's face. Kross was back in the ring, and Moss was on the ring apron. Kross delivered a kick as he threw Moss into the ring post. Moss got back into the ring, and Kross then locked in the Kross jacket. Moss then ended up falling backwards. Kross got back up. He ended up getting Moss in the Kross jacket, and then Moss ended up tapping out. So there you go. Karrion Kross ended up winning the match. Post-match, officials ended up coming out to break the Kross jacket off of Moss. So Emma ended up running down to the ring and checked up on Moss. And then Karrion Kross and Scarlett was shown laughing as they ended up walking off. And that was that. Overall, decent match this was for Karrion Kross and Madcap Moss. And then out came Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt came out to the ring, he got on the mic, and he ended up saying that lately he has started to realize that he has been conditioned his entire life to be a certain way. He ended up saying when that happens, you start to feel like changing is impossible. He ended up saying that he was conditioned to be strong, taught that fear is respect. Wyatt ended up saying that lately he started to look at the path he left behind him. And when he looked at it, it is covered in ashes and blood. He ended up saying that he asks himself why he does the things he does. And can he actually change? He ended up saying that if he was LA Knight, he knows exactly how he would handle this situation. And that makes him sad. He ended up saying that he wanted to come out and do this and feel really strongly about it. So Bray Wyatt wanted to say that he wanted to apologize to LA Knight for what he did to him. Bray ended up saying that he has a moment of weakness. And then out came LA Knight. LA Knight ended up telling Bray Wyatt for 7 days he has run it over and over again. He ended up saying that the cheap shot heard around the world, and each time it gets him hotter than the last. He ended up saying, but now he is out here apologizing. Bray is out here apologizing. And so LA Knight ended up saying that if he is honest, if Bray is honest, it has him conflicted. So LA Knight ended up speaking about fear and respect, and that he is looking at him. And there is something that tells him that last week, the fact that he didn't fear him maybe garnered him some respect. So LA Knight ended up saying that he is not sure what to make of Bray's apology. But as he looks at Bray, he thinks he does respect him. So LA Knight got into the ring, and he slapped Bray. LA Knight slapped Bray, and then he left the ring. LA Knight ended up telling Bray, now they are even. Apology accepted. So Bray was not happy about that. Bray was not happy that Knight slapped the hell out of him. So Bray ended up telling LA Knight that they are even. He ended up saying that there is a lot he wants to do to him, but he won't. He ended up saying the decision he is about to make right now is going to change the rest of his life, and that they are even. Bray ended up extending his hand to LA Knight. LA Knight was on the ring apron, and then LA Knight delivered a right hand to Bray Wyatt as he ended up stepping down from the ring apron, and pretty much that was that. But overall, this was a good segment. Bray Wyatt, he is one of the best things about SmackDown, and this is going to be a good feud with Bray and LA Knight. This is Bray's first feud back, since being back. So he's feuding with LA Knight. This is going to be a good feud. And then we saw Karrion Kross and Scarlett backstage. So Jimmy and Jay were shown clapping, and Jimmy and Jay end up asking Kross if he is the fifth member with the Brawling Brutes and Drew McIntyre. Jimmy ended up saying that it's not him. Kross ended up telling the Usos that he is not a follower. Jimmy ended up telling Kross that they won't see him in Sami Zayn's match or make a name for himself using the bloodline. Kross ended up saying that when he goes after Roman's titles, and he will show up all alone. So then Kross and Scarlett end up walking away, and pretty much that was that. Karrion Kross, he wants to go after Roman's titles. If he does, he is not winning the titles. He isn't. The only guy that could take down Roman Reigns, I would have to say, is Cody Rhodes. I think when Cody Rhodes comes back, he's going to face Roman, and he's going to defeat Roman for one of the titles, for the WWE Championship. So that's how the way I see it. I think Cody Rhodes is going to be champ and defeat Roman once he comes back. Because we all know that's going to happen. And then we had Shayna Baszler versus Shotzi. Shayna Baszler was accompanied by the SmackDown Women's Champion, Ronda Rousey. Shotzi came out, of course, with the tank. So the match itself, it was just very meh, in my opinion. The match got underway. Shayna Baszler delivered a kick to Shotzi, started delivering some right hands. Shotzi ended up rolling Shayna Baszler up, and Baszler kicked out. Shotzi came back, delivered a clothesline to Baszler. She ran the ropes, and Ronda tried to get involved and trip Shotzi, and that distracted Shotzi, to which Shayna came back and delivered a right hand, and Shayna started stomping away on Shotzi in the corner. Shayna then delivered a snapmare to Shotzi. She ended up going for the cover, and Shotzi then kicked out. Shayna then locked in the armbar on Shotzi, and Shotzi ended up getting out of that. Shotzi then delivered some kicks onto Shayna. She ran towards Shayna, but Ronda ended up grabbing Shayna to the outside. Shotzi ended up going to the outside, and she threw Shayna into the ring. So Shotzi and Ronda got face-to-face with each other. Shotzi ended up getting back in the ring, and Ronda was on the ring apron, and she distracted Shotzi. Shayna then ended up going for a right hand, and Shotzi moved out of the way. Shotzi then delivered a kick to the side of Baszler's head. She ended up going for the cover, and Baszler ended up kicking out. So Shotzi was on the ring apron, and Shayna ended up throwing her into the ring. Shayna then delivered a German suplex to Shotzi. She went for the cover, and Shotzi ended up kicking out. So at the end of the match, we had Shotzi end up grabbing Shayna, and Ronda distracted her. Shayna ended up throwing Shotzi shoulder first into the ring post. And then out came Smiley Raquel Rodriguez. Shayna then ended up grabbing Shotzi, but Shotzi ended up rolling her up. And there you go. Shotzi ended up winning the match. So pretty much that was basically that. Overall, very meh match this was. And then we went backstage and we saw Megan Morant. Megan Morant was with LA Knight, which LA Knight was leaving the arena. Megan Morant ended up asking LA Knight if he is afraid of Bray Wyatt, which is why he is leaving. So LA Knight ended up telling Megan Morant that they are even, and if she stays at her job after she's done. So then LA Knight then left the arena. And then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, LA Knight was on the floor backstage, and equipment was all on top of him, and he was knocked out. He was out cold, LA Knight, due to all the equipment on top of him. So officials ended up trying to get LA Knight up. Pretty much that was that. And then we had Imperium. This is Giovanni Vinci, Ludwig Kaiser, and Gunther versus the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, and their tag team partner that they chose. And the New Day chose Braun Strowman as their tag team partner. So it was Imperium versus the New Day and Braun Strowman. So we had Imperium end up coming out first, and then the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods came out, and then Braun Strowman's music ended up hitting. So Braun Strowman came out, and they made their way down to the ring. We had the New Day, Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser end up fighting in the ring. Gunther and Braun Strowman were on the outside. So Kofi Kingston ended up jumping off the top rope to take out Imperium, but Imperium ended up catching Kofi and ended up throwing him onto the ring apron. Xavier Woods ran the ropes, and Gunther delivered a chop to Xavier Woods' chest. Strowman got into the ring, and the ref ended up calling for the bell. So Strowman and Gunther were in the ring. And then I don't know why they booked this for Gunther. Gunther left the ring. He ran out of the ring like a coward. And I'm like, why do they do this? Gunther is not supposed to be a cowardly heel. He's run out of the ring, being a coward, being scared of Braun Strowman. I don't know why they booked this. So stupid on having Gunther run out of the ring because he's afraid of Braun Strowman. And then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Giovanni Vinci ended up slamming Xavier Woods, and he tagged in Ludwig Kaiser. Kaiser delivered a kick to Xavier Woods' face. Kaiser delivered a right hand to Kofi. He ended up knocking Kofi off the ring apron. Xavier Woods delivered a right hand on Kaiser, and then he followed up with some chops. And Xavier Woods tagged in Braun Strowman. And then we had Kaiser end up taking in Vinci. Braun delivered a shoulder tackle to Vinci. And we had Vinci end up running to the ropes. He jumped off the second rope, and Strowman ended up knocking Vinci down. Gunther ended up getting into the ring, and he delivered a chop onto Strowman. Gunther left the ring as Strowman ended up chasing him to the outside. And so Strowman delivered the Strowman Express onto Vinci and Kaiser, shoulder tackles to them. Gunther got back into the ring as so Braun Strowman. Gunther delivered a chop to Strowman's chest, and he ended up running the ropes, and Strowman delivered a spine buster to Gunther. Strowman ended up going for the cover, and Gunther kicked out. And so we had Kaiser and Kofi end up tagging in. Kofi delivered a crossbody off the top rope onto Kaiser. And then Kofi tagged in Xavier Woods. And then Kofi and Xavier Woods end up hitting the midnight hour on Kaiser. Xavier Woods ended up going for the cover. Gunther got into the ring to break up the pin. Strowman ended up getting in the ring as Gunther ended up leaving. And so we had them get the pin. And there you go. The New Day and Braun Strowman ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a decent match here. Then we saw Kayla Braxton. Kayla Braxton was backstage as Braun Strowman ended up making his way to her. Strowman ended up telling Kayla Braxton that he wants to win the Smackdown World Cup tournament and take the Intercontinental Championship off of Gunther. Ricochet then ended up coming. Ricochet ended up telling Braun Strowman that he is thinking too far into the future. He ended up saying that if you keep looking past the flippy floppers, it might come back to bite him. So pretty much that was basically that. But Ricochet is going to be taking on Braun Strowman in the second round. But obviously, we all know who's going to win that. Braun Strowman is going to flatten Ricochet. So expect that to happen. I think Braun Strowman is going to be moving on. Main event. The first round match in the Smackdown World Cup tournament. Butch versus Sami Zayn. And this was a good main event. Butch was accompanied by Ridge Holland, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre. Sami Zayn accompanied by, of course, the Bloodline. The match got underway. Butch delivered an armbar onto Sami Zayn. He started stomping away on Sami Zayn's arm. Butch ended up going for the cover, and Sami Zayn ended up kicking out. Sami Zayn ended up running the ropes, and Butch then delivered a clothesline to Sami. So Butch ended up going for another cover. Sami ended up kicking out. Sami Zayn ran the ropes. Butch ended up going for the Hurricanrana, but Sami Zayn reversed that and delivered a powerbomb to Butch. Sami Zayn ended up going for the cover, and Butch kicked out. Sami Zayn ended up throwing Butch to the outside of the ring. Sami Zayn went to the outside, and we had a face-to-face with the Brawling Brutes and the Bloodline. Of course, hype for, their match at War Games, Survivor Series. Sami Zayn ended up throwing Butch back into the ring. Butch then delivered a Tornado DDT off the second rope to Sami Zayn, which was cool. Good spot there. So Butch ended up going for the cover, and Sami Zayn kicked out. Butch ended up climbing to the second rope. Sami Zayn grabbed Butch's leg, and he pushed Butch to the outside of the ring. And then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Sami Zayn was in control of the match. He ended up jumping off the top rope, and Butch delivered a right hand to Sami. Butch went for the cover, and Sami ended up kicking out. Jay was on the ring apron, and Butch delivered a right hand, knocking Jay off the ring apron. Sami Zayn ended up rolling Butch up. Butch ended up kicking out. So Jimmy was on the ring apron. He distracted the referee. Jay delivered a kick to Butch, which led to Sami Zayn hitting the Blue Thunder Bomb. And Sami ended up going for the cover. Butch kicked out. So we had the Bloodline and the Brawling Brutes. They were fighting on the outside of the ring. Butch was on the second rope, and he delivered a moonsault onto the Usos on the outside of the ring, which was awesome. Nice moonsault by Butch. So Butch went back into the ring. He ended up going for a right hand to Sami Zayn, but Sami Zayn delivered a exploder suplex to Butch. Sheamus ended up throwing Jay into the ring. Sami Zayn ended up going for the hula kick, but he ended up stopping. Butch then delivered the bitter end, and Butch ended up going for the cover. And they go, Butch ended up winning the match. So Butch is moving on in the World Cup tournament. Post-match, Solo Sikoa got into the ring, and he hit Butch with the rock bottom. McIntyre was stomping away on Solo Sikoa in the corner, and out came the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, with Paul Heyman. Roman Reigns ended up hitting Superman punch onto Sheamus, and Roman ended up spearing Butch on the outside. McIntyre ended up throwing Solo Sikoa to the outside of the ring, and we had Roman end up spearing McIntyre. Sheamus got into the ring, as did Sami Zayn. Sheamus then throws Sami Zayn to the outside, and then Roman delivered a Superman punch to Sheamus. And then Kevin Owens ended up coming out. Kevin Owens came out. Kevin Owens delivered a right hand to Jay. He ended up hitting Jimmy with a super kick. He got into the ring. Owens and the Tribal Chief were face to face. Roman ended up going for a right hand to Owens, but Owens ended up delivering a right hand to Roman. He ended up stomping on Roman in the corner. Kevin Owens turned around. Him and Sami Zayn were face to face. Roman ended up hitting Kevin Owens with the Superman punch. Ridge Holland then ended up grabbing Sami Zayn to the outside, but Sami ended up throwing Ridge Holland to the barricade. Roman then ended up trying to hit a spear to Kevin Owens, but Kevin Owens delivered a kick, and then he delivered the stunner to Roman, and pretty much that was basically that. So we had the Brawling Brutes, Drew McIntyre, and Kevin Owens in the ring, while the Bloodline was on the outside. So Kevin Owens is the 5th member of Team McIntyre. He's going to be with Drew McIntyre and the Brawling Brutes going into War Games at Survivor Series. So it's going to be them versus the Bloodline in War Games. It's going to be a awesome War Games match with them. And there was talks about, Kevin Owens being injured, and then we saw him return tonight, which he didn't look injured, in my opinion, when he walked out. So there's your War Games match. It's going to be one hell of a match. But that was SmackDown tonight. Overall, good show SmackDown was tonight. Moving on to AEW Rampage, which Rampage was an enjoyable show tonight. It was live from Prudential Center, where Full Gear is going to be at tomorrow, which Full Gear is shaped up to be a very good show. Not going to be reviewing Full Gear tomorrow night, though. But I said this before, when Rampage is live, the atmosphere of the crowd is, very good. And it's different from when we see the show being taped after Dynamite every week. Like when it's taped, you see the crowd, they make some noise, but you could tell that they're tired. They're there from, 7 o'clock, I guess, when they do a AEW Dark taping, and then 2 hours of Dynamite, and then an hour of Rampage. So the crowd, their energy has been, taken out, because they're there for those hours. They're there for 3 hours, and then add on Rampage, and it's 4 hours. So, but I always love when Rampage goes live. It's a very different atmosphere, and the crowd is more energetic. But tonight we saw Ricky Starks versus Lance Archer. This was the quarterfinals match in the AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament. The FTW Championship was on the line, where Hook defended the title against Lee Moriarty. Athena ended up taking on Madison Rayne. And the main event, Eddie Kingston and Ortiz teamed up to take on Jun Akiyama and Konosuke Takeshita. So that was Rampage tonight. So Rampage opened up with Ricky Starks versus Lance Archer, quarterfinals match in the AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament. This was a good match here. So Lance Archer and Ricky Starks were brawling backstage. Lance Archer ended up sending Starks' head into a garage door and ended up tossing him into it. So we had Archer end up throwing a stage case onto Starks, and then Archer ended up throwing Starks into a pile of chairs. Starks came back, ended up hitting Lance Archer with a garbage can, and we had Starks and Archer end up heading to ringside through the crowd. Starks then ended up hitting Archer with a garbage can, and he ended up throwing him over the barricade, and we had Starks end up delivering a forearm to Archer. So we had Archer and Starks end up climbing up the stairs through the crowd. Starks then delivered a crossbody to Archer off the stairs, and then he delivered a right hand. Starks ended up coming back, and Archer ended up tackling him, and both guys went into the ring. The bell ended up ringing, so the match officially started. Starks then delivered a chop in the corner to Lance Archer. Starks then delivered a boot to Archer's face, and then he clotheslined Archer out of the ring. Archer came back, and he ended up chokeslamming Ricky Starks onto the ring apron. And then as Rampage came back from the commercial, Archer delivered a right hand to Starks in the corner. Archer was looking to hit the blackout. Starks ended up finding his way out of Archer delivering the blackout, and Starks was delivering some right hands. Starks delivered a diving shoulder tackle, and then he ended up hitting a lariat to Archer. Archer ended up coming back, but Starks ended up managing to hit a tornado DDT on Archer. He ended up going for the cover, and Archer ended up kicking out. Starks then wrapped one of Lance Archer's braids around his hand, and he was looking for the Rochambeau, but Archer ended up escaping. Ricky Starks then delivered a spear to Archer, so Starks ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Ricky Starks ended up winning the match. Post-match, Brian Cage and Prince Nana headed down to the ring, and we had Archer end up clocking Starks from behind, and he ended up turning the ring steps on his side, and he chokeslammed Starks on top of the ring steps, to which Starks was griping his arm in pain. And pretty much that was basically that. But overall, this was a decent match between Starks and Lance Archer. Obviously, we all know Ricky Starks was going to be moving on in the tournament. And then we saw Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was backstage with Jericho and Sammy Guevara. Tony Schiavone ended up asking Guevara and Jericho about their four-way match for the Ring of Honor World Championship at Full Gear tomorrow night. So, of course, it's going to be Chris Jericho versus Sammy Guevara versus Claudio Castagnoli, and also versus Bryan Danielson. So Jericho ended up saying that Claudio and Bryan will take one another out sooner or later, and the title will stay within the Jericho Appreciation Society, and more specifically with him. So Sammy Guevara ended up saying to Jericho, yeah, we'll see about that. And basically that was that. So it should be a good four-way match tomorrow night at Full Gear, where the ROH World Championship is going to be on the line. Obviously, calling it right now, of course, Jericho is going to retain the title. But it's going to be a pretty good match. You got Jericho and Sammy Guevara and Claudio and Bryan. They're all going to deliver one hell of a four-way match tomorrow night. And then we had Hook versus Lee Moriarty. This was for the FTW Championship. This was a waste of time. Hook ended up getting the win, retaining the FTW Championship, obviously. We had Hook end up hitting the Red Rum on Lee Moriarty. So there you go. Moving on, we saw Tony Schiavone, The Dark Order, Roosh, and Jose backstage. Jose ended up telling John Silver everything is funny to him. He ended up telling Preston 10 Vance that he's serious. So 10 ended up saying that he doesn't speak for him. And so 10 ended up walking off. Roosh and John Silver end up staring down one another. Roosh ended up saying that he will beat Silver one-on-one again. So pretty much that was basically that. And then we had Athena versus Madison Rayne. And this was a decent match here. The match started with Athena ended up delivering a drop kick to Rayne's back as she posed on the middle rope. Rayne ended up firing back with a big boot to Athena. She ended up sending Athena into the middle turnbuckle, delivered an elbow strike. So both Rayne and Athena end up spilling to the outside. Athena ended up whipping Rayne into the barricade. Athena then tossed Rayne back into the ring and delivered a chop. So Athena was looking to go for a delayed vertical suplex to Rayne. Rayne countered that into a DDT. Rayne ended up hitting a pair of back elbows to Athena, and she followed up with an elbow to Athena's face. Athena came back and delivered a stunner to Rayne, and she followed up with an elbow to Rayne's jaw. And Athena ended up hitting the Wrath of the Goddess on Rayne. She ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Athena ended up winning the match. Post-match, Athena continued to beat down on Madison Rayne. Aubrey Edwards ended up trying to pull Athena off of her. And Athena ended up clocking Aubrey. And she ended up locking in the crossface on Rayne. And then Mercedes Martinez ended up coming out. Mercedes Martinez ended up making her return. She was out with an injury. And she ended up heading down to the ring. Mercedes Martinez ended up staring down Athena. Athena, which then retreated out of the ring. And pretty much that was basically that. But I've heard that Athena turned heel on AEW Dark, from what I understand. Which, to me, I don't watch Dark, so I never knew about Athena turning heel. But Athena's a heel now. But overall, it was just a very decent match. And then we saw the best friends, Orange Cassidy and The Factory. Orange Cassidy ended up saying that they want to fight the Factory 5-on-5 tomorrow night at Full Gear. QT Marshall ended up saying that there's only 3 of them, and Rocky Romero ended up walking in. QT Marshall ended up saying that there's still only 4 of them. So Trent Beretta ended up throwing it over to a video from Danhausen, and Danhausen is in. So QT Marshall end up accepting. So we're going to get that match tomorrow at Full Gear on, I think, the 0 hour. So, which should be a fun match. And then we had a video hyping up the House of Black. So we saw Malachi and Brody King, Buddy Matthews, and Julia Hart. So they're going to be making their return at some point. Main event, Eddie Kingston Ortiz versus Konosuke Takeshita and Jun Akiyama. This was a good main event here. Of course, before the match, we had Mark Henry end up interviewing these guys. And this was a dream match for Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston ended up wanting to take on Jun Akiyama. So we had Eddie Kingston and Takeshita end up starting off the match. Takeshita is just good in the ring. And the bell ended up ringing. We had Kingston and Takeshita end up locking up. Both guys end up exchanging submissions. Kingston delivered a chop to Takeshita, and he delivered a belly-to-belly suplex to Takeshita. Ortiz ended up tagging in. Takeshita then delivered a right hand to Ortiz. Akiyama ended up tagging in. Akiyama ended up delivering a chop to Ortiz. And this is the first time that I saw Jun Akiyama in the ring. And I say, he was actually pretty good in this match. So Akiyama ended up hitting a pile driver. He ended up going for the cover. Ortiz kicked out. Takeshita ended up taking him back in. And Takeshita ended up decking Ortiz with a right hand. Takeshita then tagged back in Akiyama. Ortiz delivered a chop to Akiyama. And then as Rampage came back from the commercial, Takeshita was in control of the match. Takeshita delivered some rights and some lefts to Eddie Kingston. Kingston fired back and delivered a DDT to Takeshita. He ended up pulling down his singlet, ended up telling Takeshita to take his shot. So Takeshita ended up answering to Eddie Kingston, and he delivered a chop to Kingston. Kingston then ended up returning the favor, delivering a chop to Takeshita. And so both Takeshita and Kingston were going back and forth. Takeshita then delivered a clothesline to Kingston. Takeshita then tagged in Akiyama, and Ortiz tagged in, so Akiyama and Ortiz went at it. Ortiz then delivered a pair of right hands to Akiyama. Akiyama ended up delivering some boots to Ortiz. Akiyama then ended up hitting the jumping knee, and then he looked to go for the exploder to Ortiz. Eddie Kingston got into the ring. He delivered some chops to Akiyama. Ortiz ended up taking advantage of that, and he ended up delivering a drop kick to Akiyama. So Akiyama and Kingston ended up going at it. Kingston then delivered an exploder to Akiyama. Akiyama then delivered a knee to Kingston's face, and then he delivered a knee to the back of Ortiz's head, and then he followed up with an exploder to Kingston, and he ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Jun Akiyama and Konosuke Takeshita ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a very good, enjoyable main event. It's the first time I'm seeing Jun Akiyama in the ring. And like I said, he was actually very good here, taking on Ortiz and Eddie Kingston. Takeshita, of course, he is just very good in the matches that he has. This AEW needs to sign Takeshita full time, give the guy a full AEW contract. So it would be good to have Takeshita full time on AEW. I know that Akiyama is with New Japan, but overall it was a good main event. And it was a very enjoyable Rampage tonight. So very much looking forward to Full Gear tomorrow. But anyways, that's it for the Smackdown and AEW Rampage review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Be sure to check out my previous video, which was the A Christmas Story Christmas movie review that I did. So definitely check out that. And until next video, I'll see you all later.